everybody. My name is Ashley Lovell. I am Hoover City Council representative in Place 3, and really excited to be on our podcast with you.
I'm Robin Schultz. I'm Hoover City Council Place 1. Welcome to our first After the Gavel podcast. It's the first of our new podcast that we'll talk about not only the what happened at the council meetings, but also the why. This will be informative. This is going to tell you kind of a behind-the-scenes type thing on what happens at the council meetings. And we hope you'll find this informative. And with that, Ashley, we started off the council meeting with the invocation, and then we had the Glitter Girls. Tell us about the Glitter Girls.
Yeah, so quite the performance from our Glitter Girls. It's a wonderful program that was started this year with over 70 participants, and it's elementary age children, and they are mentored by our Spain Park Dazzlers. So about, I would say 30 of them came in tonight, and they led the pledge, and they did a performance for us, and it's just so inspiring to see young girls getting confidence in the Hoover City School programs, and you could see it in their faces. They were all into it, and by the end of the performance, I don't know about you, but I was, nodding my head. I probably could have gotten up and danced, but not as good as the Glitter Girls, of course.
Well, and it's normally the after the invocation, I will lead the pledge, but this time the Glitter Girls got to lead the pledge, which they did a really good job of. And remember, everything that we're talking about, you can watch the entire Hoover City Council meeting on the City of Hoover's YouTube page. You can also watch it on the Hoover Channel's page. Both of them will have the meeting. The City of Hoover live streams it, and then you can watch it afterwards at either page. After we did the pledge and the girls danced, we had a reception before the council meeting for Miss Hoover teen who's going off to the competition, Greer Feldman. She spoke about the competition, what it meant to her, really heartfelt comments, and it was very powerful what Greer said, and we wish her a lot of luck. Our former Miss Hoover went on to become Miss America, so hopefully that Greer will have success also. After Greer's comments, we had
a little Arbor Day presentation. So the Hoover Beautification Board, wonderful organization that keeps our city looking beautiful in all seasons. They are celebrating Arbor Day, and it's a whole thing where we have the elementary schools planting trees in intervals through now and through March. And they also have an essay writing contest. So we had various essay writing contest winners, but we actually had the #1 essay writer winner, and she came up to discuss sugar maples. And so it's just a really neat concept. They have the elementary kids up explaining what Arbor Day means to them, and it was really creative. I enjoyed that. But I do want to give a shout out, because on March 7th at Aldridge Gardens, we are having our official Arbor Day celebration. So there will be coffee, things to eat, there will be vendors there, and then also as a Hoover resident, you can come up and grab yourself a tree. We're giving out trees that you can go plant in your yard to celebrate, because you may not know this, but Hoover is Tree City, USA, and it's a pretty neat designation there. So come celebrate with us.
And what time is that on March 7th?
It's going to be 8 to 11. So hey, you
Excellent.
early birds out there, there's going to be a coffee truck. So yeah, I'm going to be hitting that up.
So yeah, and keep that date in mind. Our next presentation was Be Kind Week. February 23rd week is Be Kind Week. On Wednesday, February 25th, it's Be Kind Day, where you're supposed to wear a pink shirt. And on the city council tonight, only one person was wearing a pink shirt. So I got the memo. I went ahead and followed the instructions, but everybody else on Wednesday wear your pink shirt for Be Kind Week. And there's a good history behind it. If you watch a video, one of our Hoover City Schools counselors spoke about the history of Be Kind Week. Definitely worth watching on the video. And from there, we went to another event that's taking place on March the 7th.
Yes, so Kai Holly, it's a really neat celebration and the welcoming of springtime. And it's a combination of events. So there's a kite flying festival and then a festival of colors. And it is really neat. Obviously, we've got our little kite here that were given to us this evening. But I went to the Kai Holly Festival last year. It was awesome. Just to give you an idea, I mean, they have tons of kites out that you can fly. It's in Veterans Park. And it is just a neat celebration. But then the best part, in my opinion, is they have little color packets with cornstarch. And they count down, and then everybody throws the colors into the air, and it's just the streaks of rainbows, and it's really amazing.
Don't wear your best clothes that day.
Don't. Yeah, that was a mistake. It may even get in your teeth. Like, it's just.
And you will leave there looking a little different than when you arrived. You look very colorful.
Yes.
But the weather was fantastic last year. Hopefully it'll be as good this year. And it's a lot of fun, a great event. We hope people will support it. And that's at noon on March the 7th. So after you leave Arbor Day celebration, head on over to Veterans Park for the next part of March 7th. So you'll have a busy day that day.
Hoover Celebration Day.
Yeah, absolutely. So once we completed that, the next part was the agenda. So let me discuss that real quick. The agenda is broken up into two parts. It's broken up into the consent agenda and into the regular agenda. The consent agenda are items that we talked about on the work session that's Thursday before the council meeting. And every work session is the Thursday before the Monday council meeting. We meet at 5:30 in the council chambers and we discuss every item on the agenda. Department heads are present and we go into detail about each item. That way on Monday we can kind of go a little bit faster through the agenda. But the consent agenda is 15 items, and this week is 15 items that were voted on as one instead of as individual, with an exception though. If any member of the public or any member of the council wants to remove an item from the consent agenda, they can do so. And this week, we had items 8, 9, 10 removed by Councilor Driver, and number 6 removed by Councilor Smith. Councilor Driver removed those items because they had to do with the park, Hoover East Park, which is having work done by Alabama Power, and Councilor Driver works for Southern Company, and so therefore she abstained from voting on those, and therefore in order for her to abstain from those, those items had to be removed. And item number 6 had to do with fire department item that Councilor Smith wanted to discuss in more detail.
I want to add real quick to just to add a note about the work sessions. As an actively participating citizen before I was elected to the city council, I think it's important for you guys to know that the work session is a great time for you to understand kind of the inner workings. There's not a section for public comments, but if you want to kind of understand the dialogue that's going on, but for the actual city council meetings that are on the 2nd and the 4th Monday, we welcome any type of public comment to come up and share. And I just wanted to share that with you because
I agree.
Because it's like, if you're new to it all, you don't really understand maybe how it works. But a really great start is by just showing up to those Monday meetings and sharing your voice, because we want to hear your voice. It's really important. And
to add to that with the work sessions, personally, I feel work sessions are at points more important than the actual meeting because we get so much information. Note, the work sessions are also live streamed by the city and also kept on file with the Hoover Channel. So you can go back and review. And again, the Mondays are kind of a pomps and circumstances. They're fun because you have the presentations. Work sessions are exactly that. They are work sessions where we get the information. So once we got through the consent agenda, I'll talk about a couple. Then Ashley's going to talk about a couple, and we'll go through them just to kind of give you an idea of what they were. Remember, we're going to not only talk about the what, but also the why. Okay, and if one of these items kind of needs to have some additional explanation, we'll go into it. The first two items were review of payment of the bills. The bills can't get paid until the city council approves paying the bills. So the first item on every agenda normally is payment of the bills. And in the past, it was just that. It was a line that said review of payment of the bills. And at that point, some residents said, well, we want to see those bills before, because you're just talking about a line. So now on the agenda, on the information packet that's available online, you will see each line of the bills that were paid. So that is a really big stride in transparency. Yeah. Yep. After that, we had the minutes. We approved the minutes. What are the minutes? The minutes are what happens when the city clerk keeps a dialogue, so to speak, of who speaks, when they speak, what they spoke about on every single item that's discussed in during the council meeting. But those minutes aren't official until the council approves the minutes. Then they go down to Montgomery and are kept as far as an archive, a historical archive.
And what to add to that is that just like for the review and the payment of the bills, when it came to the meeting minutes, we also had some concerned residents speaking up about the detail that was provided in those meeting minutes. And so instead of seeing, so-and-so spoke and then have no content whatsoever, now there's detailed content. So you as a citizen can go back and check them out and see what was said and get things on the record. And that's a huge stride, again, in transparency for our administration that I'm proud about.
Yeah, that was something that in the previous administration, they went from very detailed to, and I'll give an example. Let's say that I spoke as a resident. It would say Robin Schultz spoke. Before, it was very detailed. Robin Schultz spoke, and it detailed everything. And then they made that go away. Then it just said Robin Schultz spoke. And now it's back to Robin Schultz spoke about fill in the blank. So that is again something that we felt, both Ashley and I ran on transparency, and we felt it was important that these items be brought up because you need to see them.
Absolutely.
You need to see them. Talk about the next couple.
So the next couple, we've got some resolutions that came up regarding alcohol license. And so just kind of, as Robin was saying earlier, the way that it's been explained to me is that, the council is the legislative body and we make decisions. We hold the purse strings for the finances. And so any type of decision that may go through prior approval eventually makes its way to us. And so an alcohol license is a good example of that. So we approve those on a case-by-case basis, and this happened to be a license that came up for review. So we did that. Additionally, we talked about our banking information. So again, it's all about transparency. With our Wells Fargo and Regions Bank, it authorizes account information for these banks as presented. So it's, again, everything that's from all the small details to all the big details are included. And at times you may not think it really matters, but these are all day-to-day decisions that are impacting your city, which impacts your day-to-day life. So hugely important. And
on those two, on the banking one, basically the modifications that were made is the council president was added as as an individual who could sign, and the names were changed to titles. So if something were to happen, the title is the one that can sign versus the name.
And then another one that came up was regarding the hospitality business solutions, and that's just professional services contracts. So again, everything comes through the council. A lot of things come through the council. These professional services contracts come through us, but hospitality business solution is going to allow for us to focus on economic development initiatives. And that is something that, Robin, he ran on, I ran on, a lot of folks who are in the elected official seat ran on economic development, and it's ramping up, and you can see it in the meeting minutes. You can see it in the council meetings. You can hear it in all of our comments that it's very important to us. And so this is an example of professional services contract with an entity that's going to help with tourism, promote the city's hospitality and economic development, all things we vitally need in our city.
And a couple notes, the agenda is something that you can download from the city's website. But it's not only the agenda, it's also the information packet. Every item of paperwork that we see that's associated with the agenda, you can't just put something in front of us and expect us to vote on it without the information. So on this particular item and all the items, there's an information packet. You can download it. It's a PDF file, and we'll have the link associated with it, so you can click on it. Every single council meeting will have a plain agenda, just the regular items, and also a link to the agenda and information packet. One is 2 to 3 pages, and one is up to 500 pages.
Yeah.
So up to you as to how much you want to download. And again, what Ashley said on that particular one, tourism is very, very important, and we want Hoover to be a destination. We don't want it to be a pass-through. We want it to be a destination. We live in arguably one of the best cities in the United States, and we have a lot to offer here. And what this particular resolution is going to do, it's going to expose what Hoover's all about for other people to get to. Item number 6 was removed from the consent agenda by Councilor Smith. Basically, what this one is presentation of the standards of cover and the strategic plan that the fire department has for the next 5 years. And I'll be brief. You can go to the hooverfiredepartment.org and take a look at it. You can download these documents. They're big, but they really tell a lot about our fire department. I was very fortunate to sit on the focus group that was done last year. I believe it was June or July of last year. I got to sit in the focus group. I got to answer questions, and they asked us, stakeholders, community, what we thought, what we wanted in the fire department. If you're a Hoover resident, you are very fortunate to live in an ISO 1 fire department district.
What does that mean, Robin?
But ISO 1, I'm glad you asked. ISO 1 is the very best rating you can get. It's put out by the insurance industry. And the lower that number, with 1 being the lowest, the lower your rates are for homeowners insurance. So it doesn't get any better than ISO 1. So we're very fortunate to live in a city that has that type of rating, and residents will get to enjoy the insurance rates that go along with that. Imagine if we weren't ISO 1. Okay, just imagine we weren't.
I don't know. I mean, it's amazing to me to think that, something is like the fire department has an impact. Again, I just think you hopefully get from us this local impact that these entities that the city have really impact your day-to-day life. Well,
and we talk about it. We talked about it during the campaign.
Yeah.
What are the 2 reasons that people move to Hoover? Reason number 1 is the schools. Reason number 2 is public safety. We have by far one of the best public safety departments in the country. Yeah. We have an outstanding fire department. We have an outstanding police department. We have an outstanding E911 center. And so this is just a plan for the fire department to improve. And what came after that?
So the next was just a resolution that was a lease agreement. So again, these are things that continue to come through. So whether, like we said, it's an alcohol license or if it's a business service agreement, this was a lease agreement between the mayor. Yep.
And what's interesting,
yep.
Yeah, what's interesting about that is if you look at the resolution, not only on that one, but on a lot of them, if you read it, I'm going to just read a sentence out of it. Okay. This resolution authorizes the Third Amendment to the lease agreement between RMC Investments and the City of Hoover. It permits the mayor to enter into the lease agreement. The council doesn't sign the paperwork, the mayor does. But the mayor can't sign the paperwork unless the council authorizes him signing it. So it's a very good checks and balances.
Government in action.
Yeah, he can't go out there and just sign a lease without us knowing it. and we have to authorize it. So that makes it excellent as far as checks and balances. And from there, we had I'm the co-chair of the Hoover Parks and Rec department, and along with Councilor McClinton. And for those of you that live on the eastern side of Hoover, you will, and who have kids that play baseball, you will know that Hoover East has been without electricity for quite some time now. We found this out the hard way, in that we found out that the wiring in the park had deteriorated to the point where we had to shut the power off to the park. So daytime games weren't impacted, but nighttime games certainly were. And so last year, a resolution was approved to fund the restoration of power, which got to be a lot of money. They had to strip everything and start from scratch. They had to rewire everything, and that got into the millions of dollars. Well, a couple of things that were found is some modifications of some grant funds that would help pay for those improvements. And that was items 8, 9, and 10, all of them, one for $500,000, the next one for $500,000, and one for $100,000. So $1.1 million worth of grants went to fix the park for the kids that desperately want to play baseball at night. And I completely support that.
Yeah, we thank the residents for speaking up on that. And I do want to mention something about grants and the fact that they're not just given. You have to have someone in the city that is willing to reach out and connect with these bodies. And it takes effort, it takes knowledge, it takes acumen. So these grants are a huge win for our community because we're able to get funds through these partnerships. And so you're going to see a lot more of that, and just really proud of that.
And, grants are out there, but what do you have to do in order to get them?
You got to do a little work, and you got to, put a little bit of your own money down, and you got to apply for them. So if you're not doing any of those, you're not getting the grants.
But if you do get the grant, it removes taxpayer dollar from having to pay for something. Yep. So it's a win-win for the city. And then after that, we had this is where it gets into kind of the non-exciting stuff, where certain plans have to be authorized. The plans are in the information packet. This particular one, item number 11, was with the Alabama Department of Transportation and Federal Highway Transportation in working on traffic signals and upgrades on I-65. So what that means essentially is our Public Works Department and our city engineers have to do certain work, but they can't do the work until what happens?
Get a little permission going on.
And who gives the permission?
Get a little city permission.
Yes.
And
okay.
From the council, from
right.
the mayor, got to get a little permission action.
So that's where they're ready to do the work, but they can't do the work till we say it's okay for them to do the work. And then we had in item number 12, very similar to that, is to give a utility easement. And each person that is responsible for the project will come up and speak if they are asked to. For example, the previous resolution with the plans on I-65 and the traffic signals, those were due by the city engineer, and the one with the easement were done by the chief operations officer. So they'll come up, they'll answer any questions. Remember, they show up on Thursdays during the work session, but will not speak on Mondays unless they are asked to.
And it's pretty wild when you think about an easement. You think it might be pretty big, but there's no easement that's too small that's going to prevent some permissions from having to happen. So it's interesting. In 13, item number 13, this one is kind of hits close to home for me because my daytime job is I deal in IT and cybersecurity, and so this one was the city was able to obtain a grant from Auburn University, and we were able to replace a number of a whole bunch of equipment that was nearing end of life. What it means nearing end of life basically means that although the piece of equipment still works,
It's no longer supported by the manufacturer, so no new upgrades or patches are given. So essentially, you have to remove it and replace it with new equipment. But we're fortunate that a whole bunch of equipment that was nearing end of life is being replaced with this grant. And if it's a grant, who doesn't pay for it?
If it's a grant, we don't pay for it. Well,
It's
the
the
taxpayers don't pay for it. And what do we
Okay.
say? You got to do a little work to get the
Right.
grant. So, hey, there's that magical word again.
And so every dime that we say that a grant covers, payment for something is a dime that we as residents don't have to pay, taxpayers don't have to pay.
It's pretty good.
And from there, tell us about this adopted investment policy.
So the adopted investment policy applies to our general fund, and it's investments of funds from the general funds. So we updated the policy to as it relates to our reserves, and typically I would say, and I'm not going to speak to the financial because I'm not a financial guru here, but in layman's terms, because I think that's what we all want to hear, is that you have a balance of money that you have in the event that there's an emergency. And so what we did was we had a fairly large balance of money that was sitting in the general fund, and we updated our policy so that some of that money could then go towards doing things for you, the taxpayers. So you think about your money, that your taxes, all of that is coming to the city. It's going, or it was going directly into the general fund, and we want to put that money to work for you. So that's what we did, is we updated that fund. And so by shrinking that time frame for the reserves in case there was an emergency, still very safe, a great time frame. But in order to do that, or when we did that, now we have the ability to do some things that we may have not been able to do previously for the city.
And again, one of the things that, and I'll touch on this in a couple items down the road, but we modified some of the things that were being done in the past that may not have been as good as they could have been.
Yep.
We authorized a resolution for a resident who wanted to build a gated entrance to his house. Well, you can't just put a gated entrance to your house because there's the right of way and the easement and all those wonderful planning and zoning terms. And so he had to ask permission to put a gated entrance to his house, which city planner went out, looked at it. We had also a council member went out, looked at it, and felt, why not? And this was approved with item number 15 on there. And that ended the consent agenda. So we, at that point, the council president, Dr. Millbrooks, will say, somebody had already made a motion. Tonight, Councilor Smith made the motion and Councilor Lovell seconded the motion. And at that point, the council president said, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. We do a voice vote. A voice vote is where we just speak into the microphone and say aye.
All at once.
And anyone against says nay, that nobody objected to it. The difference between a voice vote and a roll call vote is with a voice vote, everybody speaks. You really don't know if somebody didn't speak. So it appears to be unanimous. Roll call vote, you're actually saying, yes, I approve it, or no, I didn't. Yeah.
Yep, yes or no.
So roll call votes are reserved for certain items. Now, we can, as council members, ask for a roll call vote on any particular item. We don't have to say go with the voice vote if we feel this item needs to have a roll call vote. So you will see at one of the meetings in the future, you may see one of the council members asking the council president for a roll call vote, and then the council clerk will go down the line and ask each member what they voted, and the city clerk will vote for that. And then came the big item on the agenda, which was approving the budget for fiscal year 2026. And I'll let Ashley start with her thoughts on it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell my thoughts on it.
Yeah, well, so to begin, this was our capital projects. So I didn't, not everybody knows this, so we'll make it simple. I mean, you have capital projects, and then you have operating budgets. And so we approved the operating budget back at the end of the year, and now we moved on to capital projects.
So what's the difference?
So in my mind, capital projects are tangible items like depreciating assets, taking care of your assets that are depreciating.
Vehicles, for example.
Yes.
The vehicles, let's take a
Roofs.
vehicle.
Roofs.
Anything that is a fixed asset.
Bathrooms.
A fixed asset. And so let's take vehicles, for example. That falls under capital budget, and the people who drive the vehicles falls under operating budget. So the operating budget is a lot more than the capital budget most of the time. And so we approved the operating budget back on December 29th, 2025. And tonight we concluded the budget. Normally they're voted on as a whole. But as I said during the council comments, and here's basically what happens with any item on the agenda, is the city attorney will read the item, and then one of the council members will make a motion to move to approve it. Another council member will second it. At that point, the council president will ask for questions and comments from, actually, at that point, it is presented. If it's a regular agenda item, the person responsible for it, in this particular case, the CFO, will come up and give a brief presentation of it. And I think Dr. Lopez did a fantastic
Phenomenal job.
I mean, really, you can't say enough
We're
about.
happy to have her.
Yeah, you can't say enough about Dr. Lopez, what she's done. Once she's given the presentation, the council president will ask for comments from the council. And if you will permit me, I will read my comments in case you missed it. And I'm going to preface this by saying that I spent 3 hours, Councilor Smith and I spent 3 hours with the CFO going over the numbers. And I think my comments will pretty much express the way I felt after that meeting. After my meeting with the current CFO, it's evident that over the past 5 years, the fiscal stewardship of the prior administration fell short of the transparency and prudence our residents deserve. Significant bond obligations were undertaken without sufficient long-term capital planning, leaving this council constrained and our city financially restricted in projects we'd like to do. Equally concerning was the limited communication with the full council, which resulted in votes on complex financial matters without adequate information or deliberation. As we consider a restricted capital improvement budget today, we're confronting the consequences of decisions that lack both collaboration and sustainable financial discipline. Bottom line is, there was a lot of stuff that happened prior to this administration that put us into a very difficult situation. We would have liked to do a lot more than what we were able to do. But the one thing that this council will not do is we will not spend money that we don't have. Yeah. And we also, there's a saying that says it's very easy to spend other people's money. This council takes every dime that we spend very, very seriously. There was an item in the operating budget that most of us felt shouldn't have been there. And so we had it removed, and we applied that money towards something that we all felt should be there. So we're not just voting on something that we haven't researched. We went into it in great detail.
And I like to keep things simple, and I completely agree with Councilor Schultz's comments. But, if we have any homeowners out there, I really think about this for a second. If you have a house, right, your house is one of your greatest investments out there. And if you have maintenance that continues to pop up on your house and you continue to defer that maintenance, what could have been a simple small leak fix in the roof can suddenly now become, a foundation issue. It can become a mold. I mean, I know I'm going into a lot of detail here, but if you don't take care of the things as they come along and then you just put it off, I mean, yeah, you might be saving money in that moment, but in the long term, you're really costing yourselves a lot of money. And that's how I've seen the finances in my mind, is that, we stashed away a bunch of money in the general fund, and that money didn't do anything to benefit the city as a whole, the residents. I mean, obviously some did, but there was a huge portion that was just sitting there. And so by lowering that general fund balance, we take that money, we can apply it to what's happening in the city. But, it's like buying a house and then not realizing all of the stuff that you've uncovered. That's kind of where we were left. And there's two things to that I want you all to think about. Is number one is we can take a look at what happened in the past, and we've got to state that it's not a good position. But at the same time, you elected your public officials to do the best that we can, and we're taking ownership of it. So there's that point at which you inherited a mess, but you do things to fix it, and then suddenly it becomes ours. And I know Councilor Schultz and I are passionate about this, and he said it, it's not easy for us to spend other people's money, but we're going to do it in a way that's going to be beneficial for the city, and set us up for long-term financial success. But you just kind of have to get through these hard situations here at the beginning, and then work your way out of it. But that's the reality of it. And I wish that I had somebody explain it to me in layman's terms at some point, and I hope this will help you guys better kind of understand what the situation is. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say, one thing that the mayor's one of his favorite sayings is, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And this mayor, our new mayor, is tops at what he does. Yep. He really is. I mean, his commitment to excellence is one of his things, and we see it already.
Yeah, I mean, behind the scenes, we've seen it just in the little decisions, the big decisions, but take it from us, we've seen it, and it's the pursuit of excellence, and it's inspiring.
And so we voted on that. It was passed unanimously. So we now have a budget. This should have been passed last year, but the previous council, we asked the previous council after the election to hold off on voting on both the operation budget and the capital improvement budget, and they did. And so we went ahead and tweaked it and did what needed to be done. So it passed unanimously. So now we have a budget for fiscal year 2026.
Woo!
And the next budget we'll be talking about that in September, and we'll probably start having hearings about it in August.
Yep.
The next item on that was a public hearing. Now, public hearing is where people can speak for or against a particular item on the agenda. In this particular case, it was for a conditional use approval for a 3-tenant shopping center for property located on Montgomery Highway. This is where a gentleman came in, revitalized a particular shopping center, and the city planner, Mac Martin, went ahead and put some conditions on it, which the Planning and Zoning Commission approved, on using this particular property. And the property owner was present. He was there to answer any questions. Nobody on the council had any questions. Nobody in the audience had questions. So it was voted on and we passed unanimously.
And I want to add something to that as well. But this property, 1543 Montgomery Highway, you could consider it as one of the gateways into Hoover. So you're going to see from our administration, yes, there's going to be new projects that pop up, but you are going to see, because we all campaigned on it and it's important to us, is the idea of redeveloping Hoover. So you're going to see these existing footprints that may have been run down, sore a sight for sore eyes, but there is going to be efforts into redevelopment. So I'm looking forward to the next 4 years to see what we come up with and see what's available.
And I mean, it's I'll echo that. That is very, very important. The mayor wants, when we come in, when you drive into Hoover, he wants people to know
Excellence.
you're in Hoover.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he wants you to know you're in Hoover. Our next item was an interesting item. It was a resolution for a public nuisance report of costs. And so this particular item, the city has regulations and ordinances in place for you to keep your property looking good. Cut the grass, get rid of weeds and things like that. And so that's whether you live in an HOA area or not. And in this particular case, what happens if you don't? The city will go to you and they will say, hey, you're not looking very good. Or a neighbor may say, hey, my neighbor's not looking very good. Their property's not looking very good. And so I want you to check it out. And so the city will go out there, the code enforcement officer will go out there, and let's say that there's a foot of grass. He'll say, yep, it needs to be cut. So they'll let the homeowner know, you got to cut the grass. If the homeowner fails to cut the grass, the city will hire somebody to cut the grass. Well,
It's getting cut.
Yeah. And so that costs money, and that's taxpayer dollars that pay for that. So in this particular item, the city said, you need to pay us for that, and you didn't pay us for that, so now a lien is going to be placed on their house until and they can't sell the house until it is paid. So we're not going to spend taxpayer dollars without trying to get those taxpayer dollars back. And that particular resolution passed also unanimously.
And we see a lot of those weed abatement situations when it starts getting warmer and there's more rain. So these are going to start piling up as the spring hits. So just serves as a reminder to cut your grass.
We'll have 8 or 9 items sometimes on the agenda to
Just
vote
about
on.
weeds.
Yeah, it
But those
takes
are
up.
important for the city.
Yeah.
We want to protect your investment.
There's a reason behind it. The reason is from a health perspective, you can't have certain things. And stay tuned on that. That ordinance only applies to residential areas, but stay tuned.
Stay tuned. He's saying stay tuned. I'm staying tuned.
And so then we set a public hearing for March the 9th. And so what is that? The item that we had 2 items ago was a public hearing on a particular item. This item sets a date for the public hearing. This particular one will be for a drive-through facility for Dutch Brothers Coffee for property located at 1855 Montgomery Highway. What does that mean? That means this particular new business coming into Hoover wants to set up a drive-through in an area where there is not a drive-through. And so you, the residents, will get to speak for or against that during the public hearing. It's already gone through planning and zoning. They've approved it and they've forwarded it to the city council. Now the city council needs to approve it. But if there are people that are against it, they have the opportunity to come and make their case
Publicly.
in front of the council, where we say, you know what, that makes sense. Now, does that always work? It worked for me back on March 16th, 2020, when we spoke against a particular item, and I spoke in front of the city council as a resident. The developer spoke also in favor of his project, and I made the case that project shouldn't go through as it presented, and the council voted it down. So
That's how I met Robin on my issue.
It's an item on.
It's near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah, it's
out.
important for you, the resident, when you see an item that you may feel strongly about, for or against, to come out,
Come on down.
get in front of the council. You will have 4 minutes, and I can tell you this.
That's a
okay?
vast improvement because it was 3.
And I can tell you, you will not be cut off at 4
We're
minutes.
not going to cut you off.
No.
We'll let
So,
you finish your thought at least.
Unlike
We won't gavel you
yeah,
down.
you will get to finish your sentence. You will get to finish your thought. So if you feel strongly about it, about this item or any item that has a public hearing, please come out and speak.
And we'll make you aware of these issues as they
Yeah.
come up to remind you, place emphasis on those folks who are, again, for or against it. But this is a new administration, and it's neat about when you face conflict within a situation, meaningful change happens. And I can say from my perspective, and I know Robin, meaningful change has been born out of the ability of speaking up and standing up for your community.
And so after that was the last item. Then the council president will ask for council comments if anybody has any. And then at that point, once we're done with that, we adjourn. The meeting's over with. So this was our debut podcast episode. It went a lot longer than we intended it to, but we set the groundwork, we set the framework for what future episodes will be. This one kind of explained the items. The future podcasts will go a little bit faster, but again, we're going to not only tell you about the what, but also about the why. And stay tuned. We're gonna have a lot of fun with these. We may have guests appearing on the podcast. We already have America's favorite counselor that asked why he couldn't be on it. And
we have a really cool new logo. So let us know what you think about that logo.
And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to send your comments. And
I'm getting Hoover Channel flashbacks right here. Don't forget to subscribe.
Subscribe to both the city's YouTube channel and the Hoover Channel.
After the gavel.
The
Hoover Channel.
After the gavel. And we want to thank Ashley for the logo. She did a tremendous job with the logo. And so we will see you at the next meeting. And until then,
see you later.